This is Dylan Moore with I Read a TV, and today I have a story to relate in connection with a theme which is very common, a subject which is very common on the show, which is, in its grander explanations, the evolution of civilizations. Literally, we get this from the book, The Evolution of Civilizations by Carroll Quigley. And the reason we keep bringing this book up is because he's got this analysis that's so poignant, not just about, like how civilizations develop and die, but how societal organizations crystallize and stop being effective at what they were originally supposed to be doing. And when we talk about societal organizations, we mean literally anything. I mean, this could be your local church, this could be who you work for, this could be the government, this could be the economic system. I mean, this goes all the way to the smallest itty-bitty bit of, I guess, two people working together, I guess even one person within a society, whose job it is to achieve a certain goal. At some point, typically, or I would even say naturally, that organization starts becoming more interested in serving itself, and the original goal of the organization becomes either secondary or oftentimes contrary to what the organization is completing. Now, I mean, examples we often give are stuff like, an army, a nation creates an army because its social organizational goal is to defend the nation, but at some point the army becomes more interested in feeding itself, and it might even you might even have the original goal of defending the nation turns into the goal of, we need to start wars in order to continue having a reason to pay for the military, even if it hurts the nation. What defending the nation becomes secondary, as an example. So, what I want, the story I want to relate, it just takes this theoretical stuff that we talk about and just gives this absolute concrete example. This is pretty funny, and the mindset I want you to walk into this is the South Park cable company episode, where the cable company guys sit there and rub their nipples when the South Park kids come in and complain about the cable service. That's the mindset I want you to have walking into this. So I've got a business. I bought it about a year and a half ago, and I've got 2 locations, and at both those locations I need to have TV, internet, and phone lines, right? And when I took the business over, the prior owner was getting all of his stuff from Spectrum Internet. Spectrum, I think it's just called Spectrum. I think it used to be called Charter. Where I live, we don't have it. We got Comcast, but in this location, they have Spectrum. And every single time as I would go through Spectrum, if I had an issue or I wanted to change something, I'd call in. And so at 2 locations with these 3 different services I was getting, I had 7 different account numbers. Right? And I call up and I'm like, this is my account number. And each account has its own PIN, right? So I'm calling up, like, this is my account number. No, this is my account number. I think it's this one because this bill's really confusing. And I figured out how to deal with this, but at first I'd get like this ping pong where I'd call the number and I'd say, here's my account number. They go, oh no, you're bulk. And they send me to bulk, and I say, okay, well, here's my account number. Like, oh man, no, you're commercial. And they send me back to bulk, and I get ping-ponged like 4 or 5 times before I realized what the hell was going on, and I started yelling at them. And further, at some point, I'm looking at my... Oh, no, wait, that part's coming later. I get these complaints from the employees in one of the locations going, the internet's not working, and I had at some point, like, the VP of sales in the region or whatever reach out to me because he wanted to renew the contracts that I had with Spectrum. And they in the process, they also sent out a technician. Well, it turns out the reason that the internet was so slow was because I was on, the building was on an internet package that they didn't even offer anymore. I don't understand how we were still having it, but then they weren't offering it. But, like, it was at 100 megabytes a second, and when I finally called and realized what was going on, they're like, oh yeah, the slowest that we offer is 300 megabytes a second. And I'm thinking, okay, I had a guy review my accounts to renew my contracts, and we had a technician coming out to look at why the internet was so slow, and nobody noticed that we were on a Bronze Age internet plan? Like, I'm just like, what? And so I'm also looking one day at this bill, which is 4,000 different things in the 7 accounts, and I'm like, I think my TV is twice as expensive at one location over the other. And it's like the same amount of TV, the same services, the same channels, same everything. I'm like, no, it's... And the reason this is hard to figure out because I got the taxes and fees and things are broken out into different things. And I'm like paying $250 at one place and $500 at the other. That's double. Holy shit. So I call up and I reach out to this VP of sales or whatever in the region. And I'm like, what's going on here? Oh, yeah, you got some old system. And I'm like, okay. I've seen this movie before, so I got to pay double for the old system. Oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So, we go by 2 scheduled attempts to. You're scheduled for November 2nd. November 2nd comes by, no one shows up. Okay, you're scheduled for the 11th. 11th comes by, nobody shows up. Finally, we get them out on whatever the third attempt was. And my administrator calls me, and she goes, well, they came out, and we've got, and there's 18 TVs, right? We got 16 out of the 18, and of the 16 we have, they're like flickering. And people are complaining about the TVs, and I'm like, oh, God. So my administrator tells me, she tries to call in, and she says, they ask her, well, are you a bulk account or a commercial account? And she's like, I don't know. And they said, well, you have to figure it out in order for us to help you. And she asks, well, can you tell me how I can figure that out? Because I don't know. And they said, no, we're not able to tell you. No, we're not able to tell you that. So she calls me going, what do I do now? And I said, okay, I'll take it over. So I call up Spectrum. And I don't let them do the ping pong thing for me anymore. Like, if they want to send me somewhere else, I'm like, before you send me somewhere else, don't. And I say, okay, I got these 16 TVs. I'm supposed to have 18. And I had 18 before, so give me 16. And she's like, well, I only see in your account that you have 16. I'm like, yes. There was 18, and I need 18. And she goes, oh, and then I said, they're flickering. And she's like, well, what do I put in the work order? And I'm thinking, whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, why is this my problem? And I said, well, whatever it takes to fix the 16 TV. She's like, well, I need to put something in the work order. I'm like, well, then make 16 work orders and figure it out. Oh, the small point that I forgot to add. In this succession of crap, my administrator did get them to come back out for some other thing that she needed to fix on all the TVs, and the guy came out and he's like, I've got a work order for the 4th TV, for number 4. And she goes, you mean all of them? He goes, no, it's number 4. I can only do number 4. That's all I have the work order for. There's this theme of this, like, it's got to be on the work order. It's got to be on the work order. And I luckily she got him to stay and go, no, you're doing it to all 16 TVs. But we're moving back forward. This thing about the work order is like, well, I gotta have something to put on the work order. Like, it's my fault to figure out what needs to go on this work order. And I said, oh, we'll put the 1 through 16. And I'm like, what about the other 2? And she goes, well, I don't have those other 2 in your system. And I'm like, I don't care. I had 18 TVs before. We upgraded to some system because you were charging me double, and I need 18 TVs now. So do it. Well, I don't have anything to put into the work order. I'm thinking, I don't work for Spectrum. I don't know how your system works. Is this like some bureaucratic game where I have to tell you how to do your job? And then I'm like, well, then just write common areas. And she's like, well, I don't have common, there's nothing in your account that says common areas. And I'm like, well, then write 17 or 18. Or write 17 and 18. And she goes, well, you just told me there was only 16. And I'm like, yeah! That's when I started screaming and hung up the phone. And then I don't even know why I called the customer service, but I sent an email to the VP of sale, whatever. And title of my email, 0 out of 10 customer service, where I essentially said, you can't, like, it's not my job to figure out how to navigate your goddamn bureaucracy. I had 18 TVs before. I need 18 now. Fix it. And fix the flickering TV problem, right? This gets better. Like, I'm not done yet. Just remember, I have 2 locations. So the day arrives that they're supposed to show up, and I get this phone call from my other location going, did you ask for Spectrum to be here? And I went, no. They're supposed to be at the other location. And she goes, that's what I thought. And I find out this out later. She hangs up the phone and she tells me after the fact, she goes to them and she says, you need to go to the other location. And the guy says, oh, my work order says it's this location. And she goes, I know. You're supposed to be at the other location. And I shit you not, the guy looks at her and says, well, he's going to have to call back in and schedule again so we can get the right thing on the work order. Sorry, just reliving what actually happened. So, thankfully, the administrator, where they were supposed to be, sends an email to this VP or whatever. The email was delicious. I mean, it was something like, can you please help us out here so I don't have to go through the agony, which is your customer service? So finally they got sent out and the stuff's working, right? But throughout this whole thing, oh, and then by the way, I've been like, out of these 6 accounts that I have, and I said 7 before, but there's one main account with 6 sub accounts underneath there. I've been, like, I'm gonna go with the internet with these guys. I'm gonna go with phones with these guys. And so far, I haven't found a competitor for the TV yet. Yeah, the South Park episode with the rub of the nipples should be coming to mind now. But yeah, I'm trying to get away from these guys. But as I'm going through this, I can't help but think of the evolution of civilizations and what we read and what we've talked about in terms of how societal instruments institutionalize, right? They become self-serving as opposed to achieving the goal of whatever it is they were supposed to achieve. And this constant theme from Spectrum of the work order. But the work order says, I can't put that into the work order. The work order. And anybody with half a brain cell is going, it's not my problem what you put in your work order, right? That I mean, I can guess what's going on in their system, particularly from the fact that these different departments don't talk to each other. Like the bulk and the commercial are just like, I mean, they might as well be 2 separate businesses. Like, I have no idea what's going on over there. How they ping pong me back and forth. I'm guessing that their company is so big that if they don't get something recorded on a work order, they don't know that it's happened and they're not able to charge for it appropriately. And I suspect that's happened so much in the past that the entire management within the company is freaked out about properly getting stuff on the work order. Which, I mean, there's a level that makes sense, but Spectrum is a societal organization, just like anything else. What is the purpose of Spectrum? Right? Spectrum, I'm talking to you. What is the purpose of Spectrum? What is the point of having Spectrum? I would argue the point of having Spectrum is getting people internet, TV, and phones, right? That's the point of Spectrum. You provide internet, TV, and phone service to customers, to people who need it and or want it and are willing to pay for it. And your system, if it's optimized, should be set up to maximize and do so most efficiently, getting people set up with those 3 services. And your work order system should be set up where A, you can get the service, and then B, you can accurately account for the fact of what you're supposed to charge for. And obviously it's doing neither. It's doing fucking neither. And what occurred to me, because particularly for the internet, I quickly found somebody for the internet because there's some local company in both of these cities that has laid fiber optics within the city. So like there's a local city company internet, and I call them, ring, hey, how can I help you? I'm like, I want internet. They're like, we'll be out on Tuesday. Then they came out on Tuesday. Now I have internet. It was that simple. It's easy. There's a positive message I'm trying to spin here, right? That I'm spinning here. It's easy to look at gigantic monolithic societal structures. Normally we could think of like the government or like the Catholic Church or something like that. But even something like Spectrum, which is pretty big. I mean, I think this is like a countrywide. I don't know what region that they cover, but it's got to be pretty big if different departments of the company can't even talk about what the other department of the company is doing. And they can't figure out their work orders left, right, or center. is this thing's so big and is crystallizing, and it's at the same time so monolithic, it's easy to think it can't be challenged. Like, what are you ever going to do to combat that? It's so entrenched. It's so powerful. And on one hand, that's true. It is so entrenched and it's so powerful. But on the other hand, it's so weak and it's so fragile. Because, again, going back to this work order thing, the one part of the surprise is the fact that, they're looking at me like, hey, I need to know what to put in this work order and you got to tell me. What really gets me is them doing it with a straight face. It's not like, hey, Dylan, I'm super sorry. Our system is totally whack. And I got to give it the work order. And I'm super sorry the way that our company works like this. Can you help me interact with this so I can help you? It's like there's no shame or no guilt associated with the fact that they're like, you got to figure this work order out. I do. You got to call and reschedule. I know we screwed up, but you got to call and reschedule. And how easy was it for me to go, I'm out, once they don't have the monopoly anymore, right? But how easy is it for a local company to say, just imagine the overhead that company must have. Imagine the profits they're losing out on for this ridiculousness. All I had to do is pick up the phone, and then my money moved somewhere else. I got my services somewhere else, and it was done. And I think it's important to remember that no matter how much we're worried about, like, oh my God, there's these monolithic forces in power, how weak they are and how filled they are with retards. Like, you think of the government, it's filled with retards. And I'm not saying, we need to collapse and overthrow the government. Not talking about something like that. What I'm saying is that if you're smart and you're capable, if you learn how to navigate around this sort of stuff, once a societal organization reaches this point, it's got like no defense. A company big enough, that they can go the what do you call it? Legislative control route where you lobby the legislature to pass laws that benefit you so you can, suck up more and more. And you can keep doing that for a while, but if someone's really smart, and I don't just mean free market smart, like, the traditional, that company's getting bad, so this new company comes up and then takes all the service from them, takes all the customers for them. Well, you can't do that when you have this legislative takeover. But even operating inside that governmental structure, having the brains to operate inside that, which is what we talked about on the show as well with the Center for Self-Governance, they literally train you how to navigate through that sort of stuff, is everything is based on when a societal institution institutionalizes like this, when a societal organization institutionalizes like this, everything is based on, this is what we did yesterday. This is the way things are done. We do it this way because this is the way things are done, and we don't want to rock the boat. Because if I rock the boat, I get in trouble, right? And for someone who wants to rock the boat, you could just burn your way through it. It's just so simple to burn your way through it. So, one, I wanted to tell a funny story. I guess it's funny now. I was screaming pretty loud at that lady. Oh, there was a part that I forgot. You got to hear this. Oh God, when I called trying to get the flicker fixed and then the 2 additional TVs, at some point she goes, "Well, I'm not the right person to call. You have to call the number that was on the letter that was sent to you." And I'm thinking, letter? Did it get sent to me? Was there a letter? If there was a letter, did it get sent to me? Did it get sent to the location? Did it get sent to the P.O. box? Did it get sent to the bookkeeper? And I just think, and I say, what if I can't find this letter? I shit you not. She told me, you have to. And I'm like, well, and now I'm thinking, well, what if the facility burnt down? What if an employee found it and shredded it? What if the dog ate it? Like, I asked him, like, What if I can't find the letter? She just repeated, you have to. That was the point that I actually started screaming. I couldn't, and I knew screaming wasn't going to get me anywhere. I just couldn't take it anymore. Just could not take it anymore. I'm pretty sure at this point, because I asked the VP of whatever, like, I don't know, what's up with this letter? And he goes, I have no idea. I've never heard anything about a letter. I get the feeling that woman was just trying to get me off the phone at that point, making this thing up about the letter. But, yeah, I mean, we've got these societal structures. We get intimidated by them because they're so big, they're so monolithic, they're so entrenched, but they're so weak. They're so weak. Just have some drive. Just have some drive. Pick a thing, have some drive, and it'll just crumble out of your way. Yeah, of course it'll fight back. I'm not saying it's, easy, but it's relatively easy. It's comparatively easy. So, again, this is not a show about getting blackpilled. This is a show about how do you empower yourself. And I don't mean that in the New Age sort of sense. I mean, how do you actually go out and accomplish things that are positive for you and everybody else in the world, that are, I guess, not evil for you and everybody else in the world. And first of all, you have to get past your own mindset. Because if you limit yourself with your own mind, you're never going to do anything. And one of the things that is easy to limit yourself with, and I'm no exception to this, is thinking, oh my God, that thing's so big, how could I ever challenge it? Well, if Spectrum showed me anything, often it's pretty easy.